Austin, Texas. You know, the city's unofficial motto is "Keep Austin Weird." But what if that weirdness goes way deeper than just live music and breakfast tacos? What if it stretches into the realms of the haunted, the truly horrifying, and maybe even the holy? All right, let's dive into the strange underbelly of Texas's capital city.
So right off the bat, the source material for this explainer grounds us in the city's supernatural side. It's basically telling us that Austin's strangeness isn't some modern invention. It's actually deeply connected to a long history of tragedy and mystery.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the city's famous ghosts. Then we'll get into its darkest true crime. After that, we're going to look up to the skies for some strange wonders before we land on a really wild modern prophecy that's trying to define the city's very soul.
So why Austin? Well, the city's history is this crazy mix of Old West violence, tragic accidents, and just chilling unsolved murders. It all comes together to create the perfect foundation for the legends and unexplained events that we're about to explore.
Okay, let's kick things off with the classics, the ghost stories. We're about to visit some of Austin's most iconic landmarks, which, it turns out, just happen to be some of its most haunted places.
Our first stop is the grand dame of haunted Austin, the Driskill Hotel. I mean, if these walls could talk, well, according to a whole lot of people, they do. This place is pretty much the epicenter of paranormal claims.
And what's so fascinating here is just the sheer variety of spirits. First, you've got the hotel's founder, Colonel Driskill. The guy lost his fortune and his hotel, and now they say he haunts the lobby with the phantom smell of his cigar. And then there's a heartbreaking story of young Samantha, who tragically died falling down the grand staircase. Guests still report hearing her laughter and the sound of her ball bouncing, just a chilling little echo from the past.
Yeah, and the stories get even darker. There's the infamous room 525. It's like this nexus of sorrow, haunted by two different brides who died by suicide after being left at the altar. Get this, one in the 1800s and another one as recently as 1991. And then there's Peter Lawless, a long-term resident who apparently just never checked out. People still see his ghost stepping right off the elevator.
So, from a haunted hotel, we go to a haunted house of government. Turns out the Texas state capitol isn't just for politics, it's a total hotbed of paranormal activity, with a whole cast of characters who seem to refuse to leave office. Just look at two of the Capitol's most famous spirits. On one side, you have Robert Marshall Love, a comptroller who was literally murdered in his office. His ghost is basically a fixture, seen walking the halls in his old-timey clothes. And on the other side, the famous Lady in Red, a jilted lover whose spirit haunts the library, maybe still waiting for a love that never was.
And this all leads to a really crucial question. The city is clearly full of phantoms, but not all of them are supernatural. Some of the darkest figures in Austin's history were very real.
So now we're going to pivot from the spectral to the downright sinister. Austin's weird reputation is also built on a foundation of real-world horror, because the city has been the hunting ground for some of America's most infamous killers. You know, long before Jack the Ripper was terrifying London, Austin had its own midnight assassin. For one full year between 1884 and 1885, a mysterious killer they called the servant Girl Annihilator terrorized the city, attacking people in their own homes. The panic was so intense it actually led to the construction of Austin's famous Moonlight Towers. And then, just as suddenly as they began, the killings just stopped, leaving behind one of the country's oldest and coldest cases.
And that legacy of darkness, well, it didn't end in the 19th century. This slide shows just how that horror has continued. You have Raul Meza Jr., who confessed to murders spanning decades before he was finally caught again in 2023. Then there's the notorious Kenneth McDuff, the broomstick killer, whose reign of terror finally ended with his execution. And of course, the recent DNA link that finally pointed to Robert Brasher's in the infamous 1991 yogurt shop murders, a case that absolutely haunted the city for over 30 years. Okay, let's shift focus. We're going to move from the darkness on the ground to the strange things happening in the sky. Austin's weirdness isn't just about ghosts and killers. It also includes some truly bizarre natural phenomena and, well, some very unnatural-looking objects.
Take a look at this number, 1.5 million. Seriously, what in Austin could there possibly be 1.5 million of?
That number represents the largest urban bat colony in the entire world, and they live right under the Congress Avenue Bridge. Every single night during the warmer months, this massive cloud of bats emerges to eat tens of thousands of pounds of insects. It's surreal, It's a little spooky, and it is a uniquely Austin spectacle.
But it's not just bats in the skies over Austin. The city has a surprisingly long history of UFO sightings. This shows two incredible events, more than a century apart. Way back in 1897, people saw a mysterious airship. You fast forward to 2025, and witnesses are reporting this bizarre, fiery object they nicknamed the Hornet's Nest. It just goes to show you, Austinites have been looking up and asking what is that for a very, very long time.
Okay, so we've covered ghosts, we've covered killers, we've covered UFOs, but our final topic takes this whole idea of weird to a completely different level. It poses a question about a totally different kind of unseen force that might be at play in the city.
And this brings us to what might be the strangest claim of all about Austin's identity, a modern religious prophecy that actually casts the city as a key battleground in a spiritual war for the soul of the nation.
So, what on earth is the prophet state? Well, it's a belief that's emerged from some modern charismatic Christian movements, and it's the idea that Texas has a divine destiny to lead a spiritual revival across America, ultimately shaping the nation's government. And guess what's at the absolute heart of this prophecy? Yeah, it's Austin. Despite its super secular and famously weird reputation, these prophecies have marked Austin as the place where this divine plan is meant to unfold. It's like the linchpin for the whole state.
And this is where it gets really intense. Proponents of this view don't see Austin's weirdness as just a quirk. They see it as evidence of a literal war over Austin. They believe a holy disruption is coming, something that will cleanse the city and transform it from the capital of weird into God's capital.
And that really brings us full circle, doesn't it? As we've seen, Austin's weirdness is this incredibly complex tapestry woven from so many different threads. You've got haunting paranormal encounters, a really dark legacy of true crime, breathtaking natural wonders, unexplained stuff in the sky, and now even a prophesied spiritual battleground.
So, what are we supposed to make of all this? Is Austin just a city with a lot of strange, disconnected stories? Or do all these tales of ghosts, killers, bats, and prophecies actually point to something more? Is it possible that the city's famous weirdness is really a sign of a place that exists on the edge, a true crossroads between the world we know and something else entirely?